The storm had nearly buried the world when Judd Hollis spotted the first sign of trouble. A cracked horseshoe lay half sunk in the snow by his north fence, dark metal rimmed with ice sharp as glass. He almost kept walking. The wind was cruel that morning, slicing through his coat and biting at his skin like angry wolves. But Judd had the kind of eyes that noticed what others missed. Hoofprints pointed toward the trees. A scrap of fine fabric clung to a bush like a silent cry for help. Then he found her. A young woman lay curled at the base of a tall pine, her body frozen tight as winter itself. Her skin looked as pale as the snow she rested on. Her lips were blue, and her dress, what was left of it, was torn silk turned stiff from cold. A wedding gown, once grand, now ruined and dirty. Judd dropped to his knees, afraid he was too late. He pressed his ear to her chest, a breath. So faint he almost imagined it. He didn't waste a second. Judd scooped her into his arms. She felt light as feathers, cold as ice. He didn't know who she was, and right then he didn't care. She needed saving. That was enough. He carried her through the storm, boots sinking deep with every step. Snow tried to push him back, wind tried to steal the air from his lungs, but he kept moving. His cabin waited in the shadow of the Wind River Range, small and lonely like the man who lived there. Judd had built his life far away from people. Horses were easier than humans. They didn't judge, they didn't betray, they just needed care and honesty. For 3 years he had kept to himself and his animals. He thought he had found peace. He thought the world had forgotten him. But that frozen woman changed everything. He pushed open the cabin door with his shoulder and laid her near the fire. Her fingers were stiff, like she had been fighting the cold until her last bit of strength ran away from her. Judd grabbed every blanket he owned and wrapped her tight. The fire roared hotter as he fed it wood with shaking hands. "My body can warm you up," he whispered, more like a promise to himself. Not romance. Survival. Skin-to-skin warmth was often the last chance against the cold. He removed his coat and held her close under the blankets, trying to give her what heat he had left. Hours passed. Then a day. Then 2. Judd barely slept. He cooked soup she could not eat. He spoke softly to a woman who could not hear him. He listened for her breathing, terrified each moment might be her last. On the 4th morning, her eyes opened. They were a sharp violet, like spring flowers in a world of snow. Fear flashed in them until she saw his face, calm and tired, but gentle. "Where am I?" she asked. His heart eased. If she could speak, she could live. "Safe," Judd said. "Name's Judd Hollis. This is my place." She looked around the small cabin, confusion still heavy on her. Her voice sounded like she came from somewhere fine and polished, not rough country like this. "My name is Anna Bishop," she said after a moment. "I was a governess in Laramie. I ran away. Someone was unkind to me." Her eyes fell away as if the memory hurt. Judd didn't push her for more, but he noticed things. The way she sat like she had worn gowns worth more than his whole ranch. The way she talked like she had teachers and servants. And her hands, soft, clean, not marked by life on the frontier. There was also the ring. He found it hidden under her pillow one night when he was checking her bandages. Gold, heavy, with an engraved crest he knew too well. He had seen that crest carved on the biggest grave in Cheyenne's cemetery. But Judd kept his mouth shut. Whatever she ran from wasn't his business. She'd tell him when she chose to. Spring melted the snow faster than usual that year. With each warm day, Anna, if that was truly her name, grew stronger. She helped feed the horses. She hummed while she worked, filling the quiet cabin with music that made Judd feel less alone. She smiled more, and each time, something inside Judd warmed like fresh sunlight. She asked him about his life before the ranch. Judd's jaw would tighten each time. The past wasn't a friend he wanted to visit, but her eyes, soft and curious, made the words slip out anyway. I once had a different life, he said. Didn't suit me. Someone hurt you, she guessed, gentle. Judd hesitated. Old pain flickered in his gaze. Someone I trusted, he said. My cousin. His name is James Thornfield. Maybe you. He stopped when he saw the blood drain from her face. Her breathing hitched. Panic rose in her eyes. You all right? He asked. Yes, she whispered, but her voice shook. Just tired. She hurried to her room. Judd heard her crying later, so quiet she must have thought he couldn't hear. But he did. And each tear sounded like a knife twisting in his chest. Judd didn't know the whole truth yet. He didn't know she wasn't Anna Bishop. He didn't know she carried a name worth more gold than any mine in the West. He only knew this. He would do anything to keep her safe. Even as danger drew closer with every passing day, waiting just beyond the horizon, ready to take everything from them. Rain slammed against the land, like the sky itself had come loose. Judd and Anna were out moving horses to higher ground when lightning struck close, sending Thunder, Judd's strongest stallion, into a wild panic. The animal reared, hooves slicing the air. One swing too low and Anna could be gone. But she wasn't afraid. She stepped close, hands raised, and spoke quick, soft words in French, not shaky imitation, but smooth, trained commands. Thunder froze at once, lowering his head in respect. Judd stared. Rain dripped from his hair into his eyes, but he didn't blink. Where did you learn that? He asked. She hesitated one heartbeat. Too long. Her story cracked. The family I worked for had French riding masters, she said carefully. Judd's gaze sharpened. He was a quiet man, but not a blind one. Every day he collected tiny signs, and now they fit together too well. The ring, her hands, her accent, the way she walked with her chin high like royalty. Anna, he said low, voice tight with worry and something darker. Who are you really? She opened her mouth. For a moment, the truth looked ready to fall from her lips. But fear slammed the door shut behind her eyes. I told you who I am, she whispered. I'm a governess. Nothing more. Thunder rumbled overhead, as if the storm itself knew she was lying. They rushed to the cabin through sheets of rain. As they burst inside, Judd saw something flash in her coat. A letter, soaking wet but still readable. He caught enough words to understand. Charlotte Ashford. Missing. Reward. The feeling struck him like a bullet. His Anna was not Anna at all. Her name was Charlotte Ashford. Heiress to the richest mines in the West. Worth more money than Judd Hollis could imagine. Before he could confront her, a figure appeared on the horizon. A single rider heading straight for the ranch. Judd grabbed his gun belt and stepped outside, shutting the door behind him. Sheriff Morton Briggs pulled up his horse. Judd kept his stance calm, but his pulse hammered hard. Afternoon, Hollis, the sheriff said. Got word we're searching for a missing girl. Charlotte Ashford. Runs by Anna sometimes. Rich family wants her back real bad. You seen anything? Quote. Judd breathed slow. One lie could save her. Or doom them all. No one like that out here, he said steady. Just me and the horses. Briggs studied him long and cold before nodding. Well, if you do see her, best speak up. Men looking for her ain't too kind. Judd knew that was no warning. It was a promise. When the sheriff rode off, Judd returned inside. Charlotte stood waiting, eyes too wide, hands gray from fear. He was looking for me, she whispered. Judd didn't move. Your real name is Charlotte Ashford. She sank into a chair like her bones gave up. The fight left her. Yes, she said. No more lies. My father died 6 months ago. I inherited $2 million in gold, land, and mines. They want me back to claim the estate, but not for me, for power. Judd swallowed. The name on his tongue tasted bitter. James Thornfield, he said. Your fiancé. Charlotte's eyes shut tight. My prison. Judd felt a fire build inside him. He knew James's cruelty too well. We're kin, he said. James is my cousin. Shock turned Charlotte's fear into horror. "What?" Her voice broke. "He destroyed your life too?" Quote. Judd nodded once. "We are both running from him." Silence filled the room like a storm too heavy to move. "You could turn me in," she whispered. $50,000? Enough to own half this town?" Judd stepped closer. His voice was soft, fierce, unshakable. "I carried you out of the snow to save you, not to sell you." Her tears fell. She tried to speak, but he wasn't done. "As long as you are under my roof, no man touches you, not even James Thornfield." Before she could answer, distant hoofbeats cut through the rain. Judd's blood turned to ice. Not the sheriff. Someone worse. A tall man in a spotless coat approached calmly, eyes sharp as wolf fangs. He tied his horse with the grace of someone who feared nothing. "Silas Crawford," he introduced himself, tipping his hat. "I'm looking for Miss Ashford on behalf of her beloved fiancé." Charlotte flinched behind Judd. Crawford smiled, like he enjoyed her terror. "Mr. Thornfield is offering a fine reward for her safe return," he said. $50,000, cash in hand." Judd's hand drifted near his gun. "Not interested." Crawford's smile turned cold. "Mr. Thornfield is a valuable friend, dangerous enemy." He leaned close. "I'd hate to see your horses get hurt." Quote. The threat sliced deep. Judd's jaw tightened. "You best leave," he said. Crawford's eyes glinted like a snake's. "Families should stick together, Mr. Hollis. Think on that." He rode off, but only a fool would think he was gone. As the dust settled, Charlotte sagged against Judd, tears falling. "I have to leave," she choked. "James will destroy everything you love." Judd took her face gently in his hands. "You're not going anywhere," he said, "and listen close." His voice was a vow stronger than iron. "I love you, Charlotte Ashford." Her breath caught. Hope flickered to life. "I love you too," she whispered. But outside, the storm wasn't done yet, and danger was closing in. All Judd knew was something fierce. He would die before he let anyone take her away again. The papers came 3 days later, carried by a nervous clerk who refused to meet Judd's eyes. Rain had ended, but the sky still hung low and gray over the Hollis ranch, heavy as bad news. Judd tore open the envelope and read the words twice, his jaw tightening with each line. "Mental incompetence hearing," he said flatly. "James is claiming you can't manage your own affairs." Charlotte took the papers, her hands trembling. "And you?" she asked quietly. Judd's voice hardened. "Kidnapping. Extortion. Corrupting a helpless woman." Charlotte's breath caught. "He's trying to hang you." Judd looked up from the papers, his eyes steady. "Not if we fight back." "Fight him?" she whispered. "He owns judges, lawmen, half of Cheyenne." Judd's expression didn't change. "Then we go around him. Take away what he wants most." She frowned, confused. "What does he want?" "You," Judd said. "The money, the land, they're just chains." "We'll break them." He explained his plan in simple words. She would go to Cheyenne, stand in the federal court, and give up her inheritance, every last cent. It was the only way to take the power out of James Thornfield's hands. Charlotte stared at him, eyes wide. $2 million, she said softly. "Gone." Judd reached for her hand, rough fingers closing around hers. "I'd trade 10 fortunes to see you free." They packed light, only what fit in their saddlebags. The journey to Cheyenne took 4 days, riding through mountain trails where no bounty hunter would look. At night, they camped by small fires. The stars seemed dimmer, as if the sky itself held its breath for what was coming. On the 3rd night, Charlotte looked across the fire. "What if we lose?" Judd stirred the flames, his face orange in the glow. "Then we lose together." She smiled, though her eyes were wet. "James will kill you." "Maybe," Judd said, "but he'll never own your heart. That'll eat him alive." She reached for the chain around her neck, pulling free the Ashford ring she'd hidden for months. Gold caught the firelight, gleaming like memory. "My great-grandmother wore this when she came west," she said softly. "She built everything we had from nothing." Judd reached into his coat and pulled something from his pocket. A small iron ring, rough but strong, shaped from the cracked horseshoe that had led him to her. "Figured it brought me luck," he said. "Thought you should have it." Charlotte's breath caught. The firelight reflected in her eyes like sunrise on water. "Charlotte Elizabeth Ashford," Judd said quietly, "will you marry me? Not for money, not for name, just because I can't imagine another dawn without you." "Yes," she whispered, sliding the iron ring onto her finger. "Yes, Judd Hollis." They were married that night beneath the stars, with only the wind and the river as witnesses. No preacher, no lawman, just two souls, promising forever in the silence of the West. When they reached Cheyenne, word had already spread. The missing Ashford heiress was returning. The courthouse buzzed with reporters and gawkers. James Thornfield stood at the front of the crowd, shining boots, perfect smile, eyes like knives. He looked at Charlotte as if she were a prize he'd already won. "Charlotte, darling," he called out, pretending kindness. "Thank God you're safe." She ignored him and stepped to the bench. "Your Honor," she said, her voice steady, "I am Charlotte Elizabeth Ashford. I stand here of my own free will to make a declaration." Judge Harrison Pierce leaned forward. "Proceed." Charlotte's voice rang through the room. "I renounce all claim to the Ashford fortune. Every mine, every acre, every dollar. I give it to the territory of Wyoming for schools, hospitals, and roads." The courtroom exploded, reporters shouted, lawyers cursed. James Thornfield went pale, then red. "She's not competent," he bellowed. "She's been manipulated." Charlotte turned to him, eyes blazing. "By the man who saved my life. The only man who's ever loved me without price." She faced the crowd. "I ran from our wedding, James, because I learned the truth about your mines, about your first wife, about the workers who died for your greed." Her voice didn't shake. "I'd rather die poor and free than live rich and owned." From her bag, she pulled a folder. "These are your ledgers, your bribes, your crimes, signed and witnessed. The federal marshals have copies." James's mask cracked. "You'll regret this, you stupid." He stopped when the doors opened. Marshals entered, badges gleaming. "James Thornfield," one said, "you're under arrest." The courtroom fell silent. As they led him away in chains, he turned to glare at Charlotte. "This isn't over," he hissed. Charlotte met his gaze without fear. "It is for me." Outside, Cheyenne was alive with noise, but Judd and Charlotte only heard each other. He took her hand, the iron ring glinting in the sun. "What now?" he asked. She smiled. "Now we go home." A year passed. Their homestead grew, full of horses, laughter, and peace. Charlotte's belly swelled with new life. The neighbors called her the Lady of the Horseshoe, for the ring she wore and the luck she spread. They said she had a way of healing broken things, animals, people, hearts. One October morning, Judd came from town with quiet eyes. "James is dead," he said. "Knife fight in prison." Charlotte looked toward the mountains. The wind carried the scent of pine and snow. "I should feel something," she said softly, "but I don't. Just free." Judd smiled, wrapping an arm around her. "That's enough." They sat together as the sun sank behind the peaks, painting the land gold. Charlotte rested her hand on her belly. "Tell me about the day you found me again," she said. Judd chuckled. "You've heard that story 100 times. Tell me anyway." He took a breath. It started with a horseshoe, cracked and rimmed in ice, lying crooked in the snow. Charlotte leaned against him, listening. The wind hummed low through the fields, and the world felt right again. She had traded gold for love, titles for truth, wealth for freedom, and she'd never been richer. Because sometimes the greatest fortune isn't in what you own, it's in who finds you when the world leaves you cold. And for Charlotte Ashford, that fortune had a name: Judd Hollis. And a horseshoe that still hung above their door, a reminder that broken things, if you're brave enough to hold on, can still bring you home.